Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about overthinking your content. Today is a really special one because I didn't recognize, I honestly was going through my post-performance analysis this morning, and I was like, oh wow, I haven't done my analytics since like November 21st, and at the time of recording right now, it is December 3rd, 2024. So I was like 2 weeks behind on my analytics, and there's a reason why this plays into the topic of overthinking your content. So I have been testing out a new Instagram account. If you are listening in and you haven't followed my new Instagram account, it's at the Fallon Moran. And over there, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking a lot about business and sales and content and NLP, because there are so many people who talk about creating content to generate sales, and they're not covering the belief system and they're not covering the nervous system regulation that happens in the background. So I wanted to marry the two of them, because a lot of the time people are like talking about digital products and people are talking about launching and they're talking about sales and selling, and like, yes, definitely sales and selling and sales strategies are a pillar of what I want to bring to you. And a really big portion of what is going to generate you sales is that regulation. So back to the overthinking. I have noticed on my new Instagram account that when I talk about overthinking in my content, typically it performs really well. Whether it's overthinking your content and you're a content creator, or you're a business owner and you're overthinking what to put out that's going to sell for you, it performs pretty well. And so in the last 2 weeks, I have not gone over my analytics. So what have I been doing? I have been taking care of Penelope. I have been, finding a way to take care of myself. I've been going to my own doctor's appointments. I've been doing Thanksgiving dinner and holiday stuff. And so I've kind of veered away from checking my own analytics. And so I have a database set up in my Notion, and I will go in and I will put all of the numbers into that Notion database for each piece of content that I put out. And oftentimes I created a formula where I have a ranking system where I can go back and I could be like, oh yeah, this was a really well-performing piece of content. I'm not going to recreate the wheel. I'll just find a couple of different words and I'll repost it or recycle it. And it's awesome. Like, I love reposting. I love recycling posts that I've put up before. It makes my life incredibly easy. And so because the last 2 weeks have more or less gotten away from me, I haven't been really on top of what to repost. And so a lot of what I've been doing is creating new posts and like creating new messaging and being like, well, what is going to resonate with my ideal audience? And like the sauce is right here in front of me. I've been taking the analytics since October 18th. So it's not anything new. It's definitely all right there in front of me. And so I thought it was really funny because here I am and I'm creating new pieces of content and I'm like, oh yeah, like I need to put something up, which is totally like not necessarily 100% true. Like, do I want to put something up? Yes, absolutely. Because then I have more things on my feed for people to look at and for people to enjoy. And when you go back to your analytics and you're like, okay, yeah, I know what to do for growth-oriented content versus nurture-oriented content versus any kind of content that is going to be for sales or for, a different objective altogether. And so here I am. I'm going through my table today, and my number 2 reel, my number 2 post of all time on this new account so far, the hook is, I need everyone to know that when you overthink what to post, it's your subconscious trying to protect you. And so it was really funny because today I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh, I have all of this right here in front of me. So what I would encourage you to do from this episode is to go through at least 1 week's worth of your content. So for the last week, I want you to look at what you've posted, and I want you to look at what has been performing really well. Now, if you are like, well, how do I know what's performing really well? Well, it depends on what phase you're in. So if you're in a growth-oriented phase like I am right now, then you want to have your metrics lean more towards reach and towards views, because anything that's bringing you in high views is bringing you in high amounts of reach, and it's likely going to get you people who are new eyeballs to your page. And then when you have new eyeballs on your page, then they could very easily convert. So really what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take stock more or less as to what phase you're in. If you're in a growth phase, then you're not necessarily in a sales phase. If you're in a sales phase, then you would go to your posts and you would look at what has been generating you any kind of clicks or what has been giving you any kind of DMs, because then what you're going to do is you're going to be like, oh, well, even though this post only got 200 views, I got 2 clients off of it, right? So you know that type of messaging is going to call in clients versus another type of messaging that's going to call in more audience members. So when we're talking about growth and conversions, we're talking about 2 different kinds of growth and conversions. We're talking about audience growth, right? Which is what I was just explaining to you with this hook that I have. I need everyone to know that when you overthink what to post for your business, it's your subconscious trying to protect you. Like, that is a very audience growth oriented hook where I'm going to be finding a lot more new eyeballs and potentially more people who are going to follow me. Whereas something that is going to generate me more sales is not necessarily from this hook. It's from a different piece of content that I posted, which actually came from my stories. So you want to really take a holistic approach and a holistic view when it comes to going through these stats and going through your analytics, and do 1 week at a time. So like I said, start with the last week's worth of content that you've been posting, and then do it once a week, every week. And if you stay on top of it for every week, then you know, okay, you could go over the last 7 posts and you can get all of the information. If you're posting like me, where you're like literally posting 3 times a day, 7 days a week, which is 21 different posts, it's a lot of material that you have to put into that performance database. And you want to make sure that you're getting and capturing all of the information. So you want to maybe, instead of doing it once every week, you want to do it once every 3 or 4 days. I definitely would recommend, if you're doing that many posts a week, to keep it a week or shorter. 2 weeks, that was like, I had to put in 42 different posts today. So it was a lot of work to do all at once. So keep these things in mind when you are overthinking your content. And if you do find yourself overthinking your content, take a second to yourself and get out of your head. That is the number one lesson of my day today. Get out of your head, because you're sitting there and you're trying to create something new. And you're like, oh, I need to think of a new hook, or oh, I need to think of something novel. And really, you don't need to. It's all right there in front of you. What you really want to do is get out of your head and say, okay, I need to slow down for a second. This is that regulation piece, slowing down for a second and looking at what's in front of you. Okay, what have I done that's worked before, and how can I recreate that now? That is what's going to help you the most, because then you know, okay, this post, it was a listicle, right? And you had 5 items that you listed out in the reel, or maybe it was a carousel. That gave you the most traffic, that brought you in a lot of followers. So post it again and reword it a little bit. Or let's say that you posted a reel, and I had one reel in particular where I had a very text heavy caption. Take that text heavy caption and toss it into a carousel. See how it performs on a carousel. I did that the other day. And actually, I repurposed it again into a podcast episode. the 3 subconscious tools to use when you have a launch that flops. I had that post. It was a very well-performing reel. And so what I did was, okay, I took the caption because it was very text heavy. I was like, I'm just going to copy and paste it into Canva. That's what I did. I copied and pasted it into Canva. I released it as a carousel. Now, in terms of my carousels, that carousel did very well. It's not necessarily my best performing post of all time. However, for a carousel post for my page, it did perform pretty well. Then what I did was, after I saw how it performed as a carousel, I was like, okay, I'm going to take that and package that up into a podcast episode. So taking that shorter form content and then repurposing it several different ways can be highly effective. And guess what? Then you don't have to think of new ideas. You don't have to recreate the wheel. So it makes it 10 times easier on you because you know what works. You know what way to package it up. Maybe you tried packaging it up a different way. And you know that the content is still quality material and quality content. Oftentimes, there are content creators out there, and this was me in the past, where you feel like you have to create something new every single day, 3 times a day. And it gets to the point of, oh my God, I'm burnt out. And then you don't post for months, which is the opposite of what you want to do. You want to create something sustainable. You want to create something that's going to continue selling for you. So what do you need to do? Open your eyes up to the things that are already working. And so frequently, so often, people neglect that. So in today's episode, I really wanted to come and bring that to you with just, again, 2 examples that are in my own content. The one being that second most popular hook in my own content of overthinking what to post and how it's really relevant to today's topic. And also repurposing and repackaging it when you know that it's been performing very well. So now what I've done, and you literally know this because we just went over it. I took that reel, that hook with I need everyone to know that when you overthink what to post for your business, it's your subconscious trying to protect you. I took that reel with that hook, and now I've just made a podcast episode with it where I'm talking about and I'm focusing on how overthinking today and for the last 2 weeks has gotten me to this point of having lower reach, having lower reels views, having lower engagement. And I'm like, oh, I know exactly why, because I'm sitting here recreating the wheel. Stop overthinking it. Stop overthinking it. Everything that works is right there in front of you. And so I took that reel. I made a whole podcast episode about it. And what am I going to do now? I am probably going to make a carousel about it in another week or 2. Guys, I know that this particular topic, this particular content works. I'll give you another example. I posted a reel the other day and it said, this is your sign to stop overthinking your Christmas content and to just post it. And it was a video of me and the lighting was horrible. And I actually deleted it. I've talked about this before on the podcast. I deleted that video and then I was like, no, I can use this because overthinking is a huge talking point for my audience. And so what happened in the last 2 weeks since November 21st, I posted that on Thanksgiving Day, or maybe it was the day after. So it was November 28th or 29th. In the last 2 weeks, that is one of the better performing posts that I've posted. And it's not a surprise. Like, that is entirely predictable because whenever I talk about overthinking, what typically ends up happening, it does pretty well. Like, at least if I were to look at the 21 posts for the week, it would be top 5. So consider that when you are going about your content. Now, if that's something that you're having a hard time with, or if you're looking for that metric system that you're like, Fallon, what are you using to rank your posts? I want to know. I am going to be including that Notion board with my mini vision board training, and that is currently released. I just released it earlier today. I just decided, I was like, I'm not even going to run a wait list anymore. It's like totally pointless. And I was having such a hard time with the link with Stan last night. So I decided to just open it up for early bird pricing. That Notion board, I'm going to create a duplicate bonus board so that you can go in and you can find out what content that you're posting. You could do your own content analytics and you can rank your content and you could be like, oh, well, this piece of content is performing way better than any other piece of content. And all of it is right there for you. You can go in and, I'll probably include this in like a little video so that you can see it visually as well, because I know a lot of people are also visual learners. You could go in and you can go into that. It's almost like an Excel table, and you could be like, oh yeah, this was a talking head reel and it was educational and it was to help my audience, right? Like you can literally go in, pick the content type, pick what type of reel it was, whether it was B-roll or talking head, or, what the angle was, if it was storytelling, inspirational, entertaining, etc. And you could fill out all of the statistics. You put in what the likes were, what the reach was, what the views were, what the, comments, the saves, the shares were. So I'm going to include that in the 2025 vision board training because it is relevant to content, and that's also what I really want to be talking about right now, because the vision that you carry into 2025 is going to be what you go to execute on for the next year. So that is currently running at the early bird price point, which is $17. On December 27th, when the material goes live for the course, is when it is going to bump up to full price. So that vision board training is going to be available for the next 24 days at the early bird price point. I'm going to link it down below in the show notes. Grab it now. It's going to have the Notion board. It's going to have subliminals, hypnosis, visualization. It's going to have 10 videos for you to create a vision board with me. And then I think I have one more bonus in there, and I can't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head. Grab it now for $17. Gosh, that's a steal. So that is what's coming down the pike. And then in January, it'll only be available for probably the first couple of days of January. And then I'm going to take it down because I'm going to be launching another different offer. So it's the vision board is a seasonal offer. The vision board training is a seasonal offer. It will not be available all year long. It's only going to be available for the end of December into the early couple of days, maybe couple of weeks of January, and then it's gone. And it won't come back until the end of 2025. And of course, when you come back at the end of 2025, it will have all of the material that I've created as far as subliminals, hypnosis, visualizations throughout the year of 2025 for 2026. So it will build on itself, and it will contain, of course, the Notion board vault where you can get and access all of that information. So be sure to do that. I want to thank you for tuning in. I also want to encourage you to leave a review because that's how the podcast grows. And I will talk to you very soon.